ready? Okay, I'm not going to say all the Mangalacharya all again. I'll just say Shri Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya. May they bless us with mercy today to have revealed something of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy. This is his mercy, a block of gold. There was a time when I wanted to extract the 25th chapter about Nam. And I asked my Gurudev, can I just take out the 25th chapter and publish it? And he said, if you've got a piece of gold, which piece is more valuable? You understand? The whole gold block is valuable. The whole book is valuable, like gold. Why just take out one chapter? You understand? It's very beautiful the way he said that. Okay, I think we're up to verse 10. Jaiva Nitya Dharma Bhakti Tahe Jaganai Shuddha Jiva Prema Seva Palapai.
The Jiva's Nitya Dharma is Bhakti, devoid of material motivation.
So this is his Nitya Dharma. The Jiva's Nitya Dharma. This is what this first 10 chapters in particular is going to be about, Sambandha Gyan. So his Nitya Dharma is completely eternal and cannot have any material motivation. The nature of the material mind is that he wants all the time. Every breath he breathes, I want, like a record. Never stops. I want my Facebook page to come on. I want this, I want that. Always, always. This is the nature of the material mind. Wanting. But the nature of the spirit soul, he doesn't want anything. He's not materially motivated at all. Nothing. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kanchati. No material hankering, no material desires. That's the nature of the spirit soul. So how could he possibly have any type of material motivation?
Excuse me, what's the page?
I'm reading from the Falshruti, 830, page 830. By the way, just for the listeners, if they're just coming on fresh, each day we honor this Jaiva Dharma by glorifying the Falshruti, which is at the end of the book on about page 830, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gives the fruit of reading this book, and he explains what the essence of this book is about. So it's always very helpful just to get the overview to begin with. Material motivation, yes.
The Jiva, purified by Seva, attains the fruit of the Seva in the form of prema.
Seva is the symptom of love, as we've said so many times, that because it's active, and love itself is a verb, to love. So there must be some activity. Whereas the Nirvisheshvadis, they're just sitting, trying to connect with the void and themselves, but there's no activity going on. There's no movement. Therefore, the degree of taste is very, 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 very less. Practically nothing. That Brahmajyoti experience of that light is absolutely nothing in comparison to the real relationship that we automatically have naturally with Krishna. It's a natural function of the soul, is to serve. Even in the material world, we are naturally inclined to serve each other. Someone is not serving, then they have some mental problem. But the nature is to serve. That is the nature of the soul, is to serve. And we know, even when we're serving in just a material sense, there's a sense of pleasure or gratification for us. What to speak of is if we actually serve the Supreme. And how do we serve the Supreme? By following our sadhan bhajan regularly. Krishna is happy for that, because I'm trying to support the welfare of the soul. The welfare of the soul likes us to perform our sadhana. Because if we're not performing that, then we're just performing nonsense, basically. If we're not walking carefully on this path, first of all of Dharma, and then on the path of pure Dharma. So it's a progress. But always service is there. Service is the symptom that is going to cure the soul. And the topmost service is Harinam, Harinam, Harinam Eva Kevalam. Because Krishna has said this for this age. Krishna Varnam, Twista Krishnam, Sangopangasta Vrasa, Yagya Sankirtanam Priye, Yajanti Hi Sumedishaha. This is the Yagya for this age. And it's saying Sumedishaha, that intelligent people, they will take to this chanting of Hare Krishna. You have to be smart to chant Hare Krishna. If you're not smart, you can chant Hare Krishna and become smart. You see? If someone like Jagai and Madai, they're fallen souls. But once they begin the process, then they become enlightened. And they become connected. Because it's the innate desire of the soul to bring Krishna pleasure. It's natural. It's unnatural to go the other way. And what happens when we go the unnatural way? Suffering. Must be. Like I said yesterday, when you take the hand off the body, it's unnatural. It's going to suffer. So all suffering is caused by our own foolishness to turn away from Krishna. There's only one path, and that's the nature of the soul. You see? Confirmed. Confirmed. The geckos, they confirm. Okay. So, Jaiva Dharma Chapter Shuddha Bhakti Hoy, Jaiva Dharma Naparile Kabe Bhakti Noy. This is verse 11 on page 831 in the back of Jaiva Dharma, which we're reading from. Okay.
One who reads Jaiva Dharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti.
With Shuddha Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, pure Bhakti. There is Bhakti and there is Bhakti Ras. Prior to Mahaprabhu, there was only Bhakti. There was no understanding publicly about Rag Marg. Mahaprabhu has advented Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Karite Prajant to give this Raganuga Bhakti specifically through the teachings of Rupa Goswami and all the Guru Vargya. This is why he's manifested. So, to give Bhakti Ras, not just Bhakti. It starts with understanding what is devotion, like we just talked about service. Devotion, Bhakti. Bhakti means, it comes from the verb bhaje, which means to serve. That's the meaning of Bhakti, to serve. So, and Shuddha Bhakti is pure service. But then beyond that pure service, all that pure service will evolve to a place of ras, bhakti ras. Bhakti ras, it's described, is the function of the soul when it's most pure. This is what it's saying in Jaiva Dharma. I think it's in the 14th chapter. It says exactly that sentence. Bhakti ras is the function of the soul when it becomes most pure. That ras, that desire to attain intimate service in Madhurya Dham. This is revolutionary. We're thinking that this is normal because we've heard it for so many years. This Madhurya Dham. But prior to Mahaprabhu, practically this Madhurya Dham was not even heard of. There were a few Siddha Purushas who understood the nature of Braj. But basically no one understood that. They were all performing Vaidhi-marg, like the Ramanujas, etc. Like this. This is Vaidhi-marg, following rules and regulations very carefully out of fear. If I don't do this, the sky will fall on my head. Oh my God, if I don't go to the temple, I'm finished. So this is Vaidhi. And it works. It's good to a degree, to a point. But Mahaprabhu, he broke all the conditionings. He broke the boundary of conformity. You know what that word means, conformity? When you're supposed to do what what the law tells you. He broke all the laws. Just like the gopis broke all the laws. They broke the law of dharma, chastity, or fear. They completely climbed over all these very strong barriers and just ran into the forest. They didn't know that Yoga Maya was going to create replicas in their homes. They didn't know that. They were thinking, I'm just running to the forest to be with my beloved. My beloved has called me. I'm hearing the sound vibration of his flute in my heart. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba didn't hear that sound vibration. That wasn't for them. This is the mystical ability of the Venu, or the Murli. It has the ability to enter just the heart where it's directed, like when Krishna calls the cows. He calls Gange, Yamune, Davali. He sends the name down his flute song. Amazing. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is capable of doing these wonderful things because there are 8,400,000 species, and every single species in life has a particular melody or rag connected with it. So during the Ras Leela, for example, all of those 8,400,000 rags were manifested during the Ras Leela. So every single entity on the planet got some taste out of that Ras Leela. It wasn't just the gopis. It was the whole... They didn't know what they were getting at all. But some good fortune came to them because the sound vibration of the gopis singing, and the gopis' ankle bells, and the gopis' waist bells, and above all that sound was their singing, and Krishna's flute. And Krishna's flute is singing in time with the ankle bells and the bracelets and the waist belt of Sri Radhika. So it's all this musical sound vibration. And the gopis, they ran in the forest when they heard that sound of the flute. And they gave up all material dharma. So they are the example of breaking this boundary of conformity. It's described that Mahaprabhu is the greatest non-conformist preacher ever to come on the planet. He's just walking around with his arms in the air, telling everyone to chant Hare Krishna. So what do the devotees do? We go on the streets and we put our arms in the air and we chant Hare Krishna. We do the same. I mean, 200 years ago, this was unheard of. So this is radical. We've come to think it's normal because we do it. But actually, it's very inspiring, because it requires courage to do that. That requires some courage. It requires courage just to shave your head, to wear robes, to walk around outside. But that courage comes from where? It comes from the parampara. It comes from our guru. We don't have that, but it comes from Guru to inspire us, because we know ultimately it's going to please Krishna, so everything else, the material aspect, doesn't matter, because it's only temporary. Everything in the material world is only temporary, including our bodies, including our bodily relationships, including our various bodily acquisitions or wealth. It's all temporary. None of it has any value to the soul or permanency. Yet the conditioned soul, the bewildered soul by Maya, thinks this is my everything. But where is his identity when he leaves the body? I've told you before that beautiful verse, "Oh brother, when you close your eyes in death, Where will your good wife, family, husband, children, relatives all be? Where will your wealth be? Where will your control over others be? Where will your reputation be when you die? Where will that be? Nowhere around. Doesn't matter how good you think you are in the material world. At the time of death, when you close your eyes, it's all gone. Nothing remains. Nothing at all of this world. But what does remain is the impressions that we were wise and smart enough to acquire towards Krishna. All of that remains, like a treasure chest. And it remains in the next birth also, and the next birth. It never goes. It's described like at the time of death, our Sukriti and Sanskar will go like the aromas of the flowers into the next birth. Bhagavad Gita describes. From one flower to another, the aroma, the scent. So we also will carry with us those transcendental impressions, because they're not material. They will come, like it's described, like a bank balance. You can't lose once these impressions enter the heart. So that's very inspiring, isn't it? Every time we chant Hare Krishna, it's another dollar in the box. No problem. It can never go away. So we should fill it up regularly.
Can I ask, exists some difference between Shuddha Bhakti and Prema Bhakti?
Shuddha Bhakti is more of a general description. Prema Bhakti is very explicit on the other side. Prema Bhakti is indicating Sneha, Man, Rag, like this. It's indicating the spiritual dimension. Shuddha Bhakti is coming to the threshold of that. It's very, very similar, but there is a distinction. Prema is more explicit. It's like we say Madhurya Ras is all included in Vrindavan, right? Madhurya. The Sakhas have Madhurya for Krishna. The Gopis have Madhurya. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, they also are in Madhurya Ras. They're not in Aishwarya Ras. So Madhurya is like a collective word. But then we say Sringara Ras. That's more explicit. That's the actual romantic engagements between Radha and Krishna and the Gopis. Sringara Ras. So it's more fine-tuned. So Prema Ras or Prem Bhakti is a condition which is higher than Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is a little more general. Understand? Not a big difference. Not to get too much hung up about it. But basically there is a distinction. Because you asked the question, so I said. But one who does not read Jaiva Dharma can never attain Bhakti. So as I said before, that seems like a very proud statement. If you don't read my book, you won't get Bhakti. But we've said before, this is not Bhakti Vinod Thakur's book in one sense. It's channeled. And I said before that Jayadev Goswami gives the same glorification of his Gita Govinda, because he knows that it's actually being written by Govinda Dev. Govinda Dev is directing his pen. So he knows he's not the author. So he's glorifying the book, of course. Krishnadas Kaviraj, he also glorifies the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because he knows Madan Mohan is actually inspiring his pen. So these are all apurush. They're not written by men. Okay. Rupanuga Abhiman Pate Drita Hoy Jaiva Dharma Vimukake Dharma Hine Hoy.
Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami.
Abhiman means identity.
One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles.
Java Jiva Jai Pade Jaiva Dharma Bhaktiman Se Janavrita Jnana Karma.
One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of Gyan and Karma.
It makes it sound very simple. All you have to do is read Jaiva Dharma for your whole life. That means every day 1 or 2 pages. And try to take into our hearts the meaning and the teachings. I was thinking today that the first chapter begins with offering our allegiance, offering our loyalty to Lalita Saki and Ananga Manjari in the part that's written when Prem Das is indicating to Vaishnava. He talks about Lalita and Ananga, and it finishes with Vijay Kumar sitting on the beach in Puri after 40 chapters, and he's remembering Lalita Saki. And he's remembering Ananga Manjari and all the different Manjaris. His name becomes changed from Vijay Kumar. And then he is also remembering. So, from the beginning to the end, it's about the gopis of Vrindavan. We are in Anugatya of the gopis. So we need to know Krishna Lila. We need to know the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We need to know through these pastimes Krishna's Balya Lila, then his Poganda Lila, and then he's coming into his Kishora age in 21 chapter, Venu Geet. Then the 5 principal Geets. We want to refresh these often. Venu Geet, Pranaya Geet, Gopi Geet, Yugal Geet, and Brahmara Geet. These 5 Geets we should refresh. And there is also another one called Viraha Geet that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, which is the song of separation when Krishna goes to Mathura. And there's also the Mahishi Geet at the end in chapter 90, when the Mahishis, they're looking at all the different birds. Oh, are you lonely, swan? You're crying at night? Is it because you've lost your husband? Your husband is not there? And they're asking the mountain, why are you so silent? Are you silent because your wife is not there? They're seeing with that bewildered condition, because they are feeling separation from Krishna. So when they feel separation from Krishna, just like in Venugit, they become, it's called Divyan Mad, and they see inanimate entities becoming animate. They see the birds, for example, are like great sages and munis. They condemn the flute, even the flute. Why are you taking this Adamrita from the lips of Krishna when it's our property? So all these beautiful expressions of powerful affection for Krishna are revealed in the Bhagavatam. And they're also revealed in Jaiva Dharma. So this is why if you're not attracted to these scriptures, how can you possibly attain to a stage of pure bhakti? Just not possible at all. Krishna Ramala Seva Labi Senara Seva Sukhe Magnaraye Sada Krishna Para.
Such a man, being fully devoted to Shri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained that Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service.
So that is the fruit. That is the Phal Shruti. If you read this book carefully, if you study this book, because reading is one thing and studying is another. We're attempting to study this book together and slowly go through it. So we're reading from chapter 8 and we're reading from page 167. So the last thing I read was the verse Grihita Vishnu Dikshako Vishnu Puja Paro Nara Vaishnavo Bihito Bijnaya Itaro Shmad Avaishnava. We read this last time. It was the last thing I read, right? Correct? So now I'm going to give the translation, read the translation. Learned scholars have determined that a Vaishnava is one who is initiated into a Vishnu mantra in accordance with the regulations of Shastra and who is engaged in the worship of Sri Vishnu. All others are known as non-Vaishnavas. So this chapter is about the etiquette between Vaishnavas. So this verse is very important. You cannot have the mercy of a mantra unless the person who's giving you that mantra gives you the mercy along with the mantra. For example, you can find the Gayatri mantra online. They even have a record. Om Bhu Bhuva Swatat Sarvito. They have whole people singing it. And if you think you can enter into the meaning of that Gayatri mantra without having a guru who's giving it to you, you're wrong. You cannot taste the potency of that mantra without someone who is benedicting you with the potency. It has to come from someone who has it into the heart. And the same with bhakti. Bhakti sanjayate bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. Someone who bhakti doesn't come from doing good deeds. Bhakti doesn't come from helping old ladies across the road or giving out fruits or, charity. It doesn't come from karma, because it would mean bhakti was influenced by karma. This is in the first chapter of Madhurya Kadambini. He's asking many propositions. Where does bhakti come from? And finally, it's revealed by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Bhakti comes from someone who has bhakti. That is Guru. Guru will inspire. He will give what? That Krishna Seva Vasana, that Bhakti Lata Bij. What is the Bhakti Lata Bij? Bij means seed. Shraddha, yes. Shraddha is like the cornerstone. But that seed, what is in that seed? Krishna Seva Vasana. That means the urgent desire to do seva. That's what's in the seed, is to do seva. When I do seva, then that devotion for Krishna will begin to arise from the core of my heart, not from my brain, not from it might start in the head. Well, I've been told to do this, and I've been told to do that, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. But where is the actual mood? Where is the heart connection with the desire to bring Krishna pleasure? That's what pure devotion is, Shuddha devotion. Where do I really want to please Krishna? To please Guru, to please our Guru Vargya. And this, just that alone, has to be given by Guru. Just to have that desire has to be given by Guru. That Krishna Seva Vasana, that itself has to be given by Guru. So everything is gifted from the Parampara. It's so easy for us. Even a child can just sit and just put his hands out and it can all come. Really. But we make it so complicated. We have so much corrupted intelligence that has been sidetracked. Not just this lifetime, but many lifetimes. How can I cheat Krishna? How can I lie to Krishna? How can I pretend? Hypocrisy. All of these anarthas that we read about. How to be purified of that. Slowly and gradually. By hearing the pastimes of Krishna. Vikriditam brajavadubi echamcha Vishnu Shradan vito nushrunyar artadavarenyamya Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya karamam hridrogamasab apinoti acharena dira. This is saying when one hears the beautiful pastimes of Krishna, and then when one has kirtan of those pastimes, that means speak about those pastimes, then the result will be, I will remember those pastimes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. This is the process. It begins by hearing. And this is describing the environment of the hearing amongst devotees, amongst Vaishnavas. So it's describing the nature of Vaishnavas. Kanishta Vaishnavas, or Prakrita Bhaktas, are those who accept a family priest out of hereditary tradition. You have the book? You want the book?
No, she can't see.
Okay. Hereditary tradition, or who are prompted by Lokik Shraddha, worldly faith, to imitate others by taking initiation into a Vishnu mantra and worshipping the deity of Sri Vishnu. This is a Kanishta. This is the first stage. So there are stages, there are gradations. This is a science. So there has to be a beginning. We have to come in from the street, from the cold, so to speak, and then become educated gradually into these precepts. So it's gradation. So the acharyas are so kind.